The NFL has seen some incredible players throughout the years, some who have made Hall of Fame careers and others who have made a memorable impact on the game with plays and moves that live in our memories forever. A lot of our favorite NFL players have played the game with incredible honor both on and off the field. However, some guys have been disrespected and overshadowed by the league, even though they've made a strong impact on the field by not getting elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame and being overlooked by other talented players at their respective positions. These guys have been forgotten about and deserve more light shown on their names, especially for the accolades that they've earned during their playing careers. Some of these guys made multiple Pro Bowls and got to help their respective teams win the Super Bowl. And yet, they're disrespected and overlooked by many because of the other talented players at the position. So today, we're going to look at the most disrespected players in NFL history and back it up with the stats. So, without further ado, here are the top 10 most disrespected players in NFL history. Tory Holt. Holt is considered one of the most disrespected players in NFL history because of multiple Pro Football Hall of Fame snubs. Holt had 8 straight 1,000-yard seasons and led the league in receiving yards twice in his career, having 1,635 yards in 2000 and 1,696 yards in 2003. Holt also led the league in receptions in 2003 with 117. Holt made 7 Pro Bowls during his incredible career, which was 3 more than Isaac Bruce, who made 4 Pro Bowls and is enshrined in Canton. Holt is the only offensive member of the 2000s All-Decade team that is not currently enshrined, which is beyond insulting. Hall of Fame voters preferred guys like Terrell Owens, Randy Moss, and Marvin Harrison over the years, leading to a logjam at the position. But that shouldn't be an excuse. Holt put up elite stats in the latter years of his career with quarterbacks like Mark Bulger, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Brock Berlin, and Gus Frerotte, who aren't exactly elite quarterbacks. Holt most definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and the NFL needs to show him the respect that he truly deserves. Elsie Greenwood. The late Elsie Greenwood was one of the most electrifying safeties to play in the NFL, as he played a significant role in the Pittsburgh Steelers' steel curtain defense that became a dynasty in the 1970s. Greenwood made 6 Pro Bowls, was a part of the NFL's 1970s All-Decade team, and was a 2-time first-team All-Pro. Despite all those accolades, Greenwood has been disrespected by the NFL, even after his death, as he has yet to be enshrined in Canton. Greenwood recorded 78 sacks before sacks became an official record in 1982, and he holds the record for the most sacks by a single player in a Super Bowl. Hall of Fame voters can argue that they had voting fatigue, as many members in the 1970 Steelers defense are already in the Hall of Fame. Guys like Joe Green, Mel Blount, Jack Ham, Jack Lambert, and Donnie Shell, all those guys are currently enshrined in Canton. It's absolutely shameful that Greenwood is still disrespected by the NFL to this day. He has the stats, he has the accolades, he just needs to be enshrined in Canton. Henry Ellard. Before the greatest show on turf, there was Henry Ellard, who was a dominant receiver during his time at the Rams in the 1980s and early 90s. And he had some good stints with Washington and the New England Patriots in the mid to late 1990s. Ellard had 7 1,000-yard seasons in his career, made 3 Pro Bowls, led the league in receiving yards in 1988, and was a 2-time first-team All-Pro in his career. Ellard has spent decades without serious Hall of Fame consideration. He has better statistics than other Hall of Fame receivers with a higher yards per reception record, 16.9, compared to someone like Randy Moss, who has 15.6 yards per reception, or Steve Largent, who has 16 yards per reception. Ellard also had some mediocre quarterbacks throwing him passes. You know, guys like Jim Everett, Jeff Camp, Dieter Brock, Steve Bartowski, Vince Ferragamo, Chuck Long, Heath Schuler, and Gus Frerotte. These are not exactly elite Hall of Fame pocket passers. General fans and Hall of Fame voters still overlook Ellard's great production, and he was not even a semi-finalist for the Hall of Fame until 2023, where he didn't even make it in. Ellard deserves a lot more respect from the NFL and its fans alike. This man accomplished so much on the field, and it is not being recognized. Jim Marshall. Marshall was a great and talented defensive end who was a part of the Minnesota Vikings Purple People Eaters defense in the 1960s and 1970s, and was the Iron Man of that unit. However, Marshall is also known for his infamous wrong-way fumble return for a safety in a 1964 game against the San Francisco 49ers. Despite that, Marshall made 2 Pro Bowls, helped the Vikings win the 1969 NFL Championship, played in the most consecutive games with one team, and had the most consecutive starts by a defensive player with 270. Marshall also helped the Vikings reach 4 Super Bowls, but the team lost them all to the Kansas City Chiefs, the Miami Dolphins, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Oakland Raiders, respectively. Yet, in spite of all of that, Marshall has never been elected to the Hall of Fame, which feels like a major sign of disrespect. Marshall was talented and fierce in his playing days, but he wasn't perceived as dominant during his playing career. Marshall was often being overshadowed by his fellow Vikings teammates, guys like Alan Page and Carl Eller. who are both currently enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Will Marshall ever get more respect put on his name and get enshrined in Canton in the future? Who knows? But at the very least, he is enshrined in the Vikings Ring of Honor. So, I mean, at least he's got that. London Fletcher. Fletcher was a member of the greatest show on turf Rams defense, who patrolled the pass rush with Mike Jones and Todd Collins and helped the team win Super Bowl 34 over the Tennessee Titans. Fletcher is widely considered to be disrespected due to his elite production, never garnering any All-Pro teams and entering the league as an undrafted linebacker. Fletcher was incredibly durable in his 16 years in the league. He made 4 Pro Bowls in the latter years with Washington. He was the leader in combined tackles in 2011 with 166 and had an incredible journey from an NCAA Division III school. Fletcher was an elite tackling machine who had over 2,039 combined tackles, the second most in the league behind Ray Lewis. He had 39 sacks, 20 forced fumbles, 12 fumble recoveries, 23 interceptions, and 2 defensive touchdowns. In a 6-season span, Fletcher even outplayed Hall of Fame linebackers like Ray Lewis, Brian Urlacher, and Derek Brooks. With stats like that, Fletcher deserves a lot more respect, and at least a chance to be enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And yet, here he is, sitting on the outside looking in. Ken Anderson. Anderson is a Cincinnati icon. He spent his entire playing career and a majority of his coaching career with the Bengals. Anderson led the Bengals to Super Bowl 16, where they ultimately lost to Joe Montana and the San Francisco 49ers. Anderson is considered one of the most disrespected quarterbacks of all time. He's not in Canton, despite making 4 Pro Bowls, earning the 1981 NFL Offensive Player of the Year award, and earning the 1981 NFL MVP. He led the league in passing yards twice in 1974 and 1975, earning himself the 1975 NFL Man of the Year award, and has thrown 197 touchdowns against 160 interceptions during his career. Anderson did win a Super Bowl when he was a quarterback coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 2008 season, as they defeated the Arizona Cardinals 27-23 in Super Bowl 43. It would be very refreshing for Anderson to get more respect shown to his name and get him permanently enshrined in Canton sooner rather than later. Steven Jackson. Jackson is regarded as one of the most disrespected and underrated running backs in the 2000s, as this poor guy was stuck on a lot of mediocre St. Louis Rams teams for most of his career. Jackson made 3 Pro Bowls, made 2 second-team All-Pros in 2006 and 2009, rushed for 11,438 yards on 2,764 carries, scored 69 rushing touchdowns, caught 461 receptions for 3,683 yards, and scored 9 receiving touchdowns. Jackson had 8 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons during his time with the Rams, and is the team's all-time rushing leader with 10,138 yards ahead of the Hall of Famers like Eric Dickerson and Marshall Faulk. Jackson rarely fumbled the football, as he had no fumbles from 2012 until the end of his playing career. He's also a part of the 10,000-yard club with Hall of Famers like Faulk, Thurman Thomas, Edgerrin James, Jerome Bettis, and Barry Sanders. Jackson deserves a lot more respect for how he was a workhorse during the mediocrity period of the Rams, and deserves to be in the team's Ring of Fame for all he's accomplished with the team. Roy Green. Green is regarded as one of the most disrespected and forgotten players in league history, all due to playing on a struggling St. Louis/Phoenix Cardinals team. And he played in an era with other wide receivers like Jerry Rice and Steve Largent in the spotlight. Green made 2 Pro Bowls, was a 2-time first-team All-Pro, led the league in receiving touchdowns in 1983 with 14, and led the league in receiving yards in 1984 with 1,555 as a dual-threat player. In a 1981 game against Washington, Green caught a 58-yard touchdown and recorded an interception in the same game. That was the first time a wide receiver accomplished that feat since Ed Sutton in 1957 at the time. Green deserves a lot more respect and light shown on his name for his athletic prowess, and during his peak, he was a Hall of Fame caliber player. Heck, he was considered the best wide receiver in football. Green is rightfully enshrined in the Cardinals Ring of Honor, but more people should be talking about his athletic performance from his prime in the 1980s. Marcus Colston. Colston is one of the most disrespected players in modern times. He put up strong numbers as a wide receiver for the New Orleans Saints, but never made a Pro Bowl in his career. Colston had 6 1,000-yard seasons in the Big Easy, helping the Saints win Super Bowl 44. And he scored 58 touchdowns in his first 7 seasons, tying him with guys like Randy Moss and Antonio Gates. Colston was a massive red zone threat, scoring 72 touchdowns with the Saints, and all of his touchdowns were thrown to him by Drew Brees. Colston also holds the record for most receiving yards with the Saints, as he had 9,759 yards with the team. Some people say Colston is a product of Brees or a system receiver because of the high-volume passing offense implemented by Sean Payton. However, he deserves far more respect for helping the Saints win their first Super Bowl, as mentioned earlier, and for being an incredibly productive receiver without the accolades that other wide receivers received throughout the years. Herman Moore. The 1990s Detroit Lions are remembered for Barry Sanders' elite running and brilliance on the field. However, Herman Moore is one of the more forgotten pieces of that unit. The man was an elite pass catcher. Moore had 4 1,000-yard seasons from 1994 to 1997. He made 4 Pro Bowls. He helped the Lions reach the 1992 NFC Championship game before they lost to Washington. He led the league in receptions in 1995 and 1997, and he's rightfully enshrined in the pride of Lions. Moore was often overshadowed by Sanders, as his production sometimes went unnoticed, and by other Hall of Fame wide receivers like Jerry Rice, Michael Irvin, Chris Carter, Tim Brown, and Andre Reed. The Lions had a lack of playoff success during Moore's time in the Motor City, which also hurts Moore's chances of trying to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Moore had no elite quarterbacks throwing him passes, as he had to work with guys like Scott Mitchell, Eric Kramer, and Charlie Batch, who weren't exactly elite quarterbacks. Yet in spite of that, and being overshadowed by Sanders, Moore really deserves more recognition and a spot in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. This guy was sneaky productive and incredibly talented, but nobody really seemed to notice. But hey, what NFL player do you think is currently the most disrespected in NFL history? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, then hey, clicking the like button helps us out a ton. And you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.